So we've come to the final episode of this series of Wrapping My Head Around It. And honestly, I just want to take this moment to say thank you to every single one of you that have listened and you've downloaded, streamed, watched it on YouTube. Honestly, this series has been a labour of love for me and I've loved every second of it. And I wanted to share that love with someone who has genuinely been a rock for me for the past couple of years at least, and has really seen me through some dark times. So yeah, my unofficial therapist, my barber, my photographer, and more than that, a very good friend of mine, Mr. Kieron Webb. How are you, sir?
Hello, mate.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome, mate.
Said some lies there, but that's...
We're not like you are brilliant, mate. Like you are, honestly, we've become really close over the past couple of years now, isn't it?
We have.
Yeah. So it's amazing to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Kier, now the reason that we know each other is because you are not only a phenomenal photographer, which we're going to talk about later on, but you're also my barber.
Yeah.
And my barber is my therapist.
Yeah.
So we've obviously had loads and loads of different chats. But yeah, what's been going on with you, man? Because you have been all over the place recently.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Well, I've just been taking a bit of a career directional change, you know, like you touched on, a bit of photography now. And it's all going well. I mean, I'm quite shocked really how quickly it's progressed, but everything's good. Barbering's still great. Still, you know, as my friends once said, cutting hair on the floor, cash in the drawer. So
I like that.
We're all good.
I love that.
You know what I mean? We're all good.
Now, I'm going to throw it out there. Am I your favourite client?
No. No, I don't have favourites,
No,
Daniel. I don't have favourites. Come on now.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Kit, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I know you as my barber, my friend, photographer previously as well.
Yeah.
We've shot some stuff before. But also, we had a mutual connection with a previous charity that we were both linked with, hence why we know each other. And that charity was talking about mental health and well-being. And again, that's where we started chatting and where we felt like we could open up to each other, which we've had some really good and deep chats over the past couple of years, haven't we?
We most definitely have, yeah.
So tell us where your mental health journey kind of began, like way back when, because I know that we've spoke about this.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny one because I didn't really, when I was like in my mid-20s, I didn't even know what depression was, right? I was such a happy-go-lucky, you know, everything was great type of guy. And then I was dating a girl that was a depressant. She had depression and she made a big thing out of it to me, and that it was huge, and I didn't really understand it and couldn't get my head around it, or some might say wrap my head around it. Hey. But the situation was that I moved from the UK to Austria to go and essentially look after her because she had asked me to do so. And it was whilst I was in Austria that I realized what depression was, because I actually became extremely depressed.
Yeah.
I missed home. I had sort of segregated myself from all my family. I'd segregated myself from my mates. And it was kind of like in that moment that I realized, oh, wow, this is what not being happy feels like.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment that I realized, okay, I kind of understand what she's saying. The crazy thing was that I went there, I helped her get out of her depression, got into my own depression. She later cheated on me, and I moved back to the UK and got better again. So,
yay!
Zang.
That's fucked though, man. And we're very similar people in the way that we'll look out for others before, you know, looking after yourself. And we're going to talk a bit more about that later on.
Yeah, sure.
But that must have been fucking shit at that time, like, you know, being that far away from your family, feeling the way that you did, and then obviously what happened, and then coming back, and now, you know, touching wood, that you're feeling better.
Oh, definitely feel better.
Yeah.
No, you know, things happen. Life is what it is. I say this to you all the time, you know, like you have to regret the things you do, not the things you don't. And I, in all honesty, don't regret going. It opened up my eyes to becoming a bit more of an adult about things, and to understanding myself better, what I do want, what I don't want. It allowed me to grow as a person. You know, I could say 100 million bad things about the relationship, or I could tell you all the good positive things that came from it, you know?
Yeah.
There's always good and bad that comes from everything. And, you know, in some cases, you just have to roll with the punches, as so to speak, and hope that good things that come your way can progress into more good things later on down the line within your life. And that definitely happened for me because when I came back from Austria to the UK, I started working for Lynx, the deodorant brand. And that's,
right, yeah.
That was when I'd come back. I'd still been working with Zayn Malik. I was cutting Zayn Malik at the time, and I was traveling all over the world cutting Zayn's hair. And I'd kept up that relationship whilst in Austria, flying back and, stuff like that. But the good that came from it was that it isolated me enough that I could concentrate and actually focus on the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'd left TG, the company I'd worked for 8 years, and loved everyone there and everything that was going on. But yeah, that bad stuff led me to Austria, but the good stuff led me back, and, the rest is history, sort of thing.
And to where you were. So my question is, how many box sets of Lynx Africa you got at that time?
In a warehouse still to this day. No, I've got...
He's got his own lockup.
Yeah. They don't know I was slyly nicking it. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, no.
I'm joking. I wasn't nicking it.
Yeah,
In case anyone
he doesn't
from
actually...
Unilever tried to contact me, I was not nicking it.
But no, I coming back to the UK at that point and, starting a new company, new career, things like that, that must have been such a weight off your shoulders to have that fresh start.
Yeah, it was. It's like anything, you can sort of dwell on past, or you can sort of be positive and go forward. And I think that fresh start for me was definitely something that I needed, and I ended up feeling a hell of a lot better about myself and my life, and I set out to achieve certain things, and those things I achieved. So yeah, 100%. It was definitely worth coming back, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were saying about like not dwelling on the past and focusing on the future and talking about relationships and stuff. And we spoke about this before. Mm-hmm. So tell us about your relationship with your biological dad, because there's been some things that have happened with that have been both negative, but have then come into a positive as well.
Yeah, sure. To be honest with you, growing up, I didn't know my biological dad. My mum had spoke to me about him when I was like 8, or I think it was 8, maybe 10. It's a long time ago, so I'm not 100%. I knew his name and I knew little elements about him, but I didn't know anything else. But I had a dad, my stepdad, who I call dad, is my dad, and he brought me up. He was a great man, and my want for that role was there within him. And so my need for that father figure wasn't that strong. And in all honesty, I realized very quickly that, it's probably best that I try to find him and have a conversation with him, more so to ask him if I had siblings. The reason for that was because I knew he was from London, and I didn't want to end up in a relationship with a sister.
Yeah.
Because that has happened to people in the past, and that scared the life out of me. So I have consistently dated women from nowhere near my area, in all honesty. But yeah, so I got in contact with him when I was 28, and I won't go into the specifics of how I did that and everything else, but he sadly recently died, which was a really tough, situation. I'd only had 10 years of knowing him. I don't feel like I got enough information out of the situation, and it can be a little bit of it's that part that really got to me. Obviously him passing away wasn't great, and it was a sad situation for me. But as I said and touched on earlier, good comes from bad, and sadly him passing away has allowed 2 of my brothers to contact me. I don't know if that's the reason. Obviously, I think that they kind of realized they should have done that earlier in our, connection and chats that we had. But the great thing is I now have 4 younger brothers from that scenario. And that for me is, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal feeling.
Yeah. And I can only imagine, like, because I reference this quite a lot, and I said this to you when Dean passed away, that I gained a new family from the rugby club. But to gain actual family must just have really just boosted you so much.
I'm absolutely buzzing, honestly. Like, I met them via FaceTime. My brother Daniel is living in Australia at the moment, so we had a FaceTime conversation with Dan and Joe. And honestly, it's just, I'm still buzzing. I'm still on cloud nine about it. You know, I've gained 2 brothers, 2 sister-in-laws, and 3 nephews. That's what I've gained.
So a lot of birthdays to catch up on.
Yeah, Christmas is gonna be expensive. But no, honestly, I am really buzzing about the situation. It's the one thing that has, like, there's been a lot of bad stuff that's happened, I suppose, to say, for myself recently, and that has really been a massive help, a massive positive. And I'm honestly, yeah, again, I'm just absolutely buzzing about that situation.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. Like, when you can turn such negativity into positivity,
Yeah.
you are the master of that. Because I've come into you before and I've said, mate, I don't really even need my haircut that much. I just need a chat.
Yeah.
And all of that lot. And I know that I can call you up and I can do this,
Yeah,
and
sure.
we can go, you know, we are good friends. But I think that, you know, for me, sitting in the chair, chatting to you and going through that, and the fact that you genuinely have such a great philosophy on life and how you can just let go of the stuff that should ail you, but you just don't need it to. It doesn't serve you.
No.
So where did you kind of get that ethos from? Like, where did that kind of come from for you?
I don't know. In all honesty, I think that my life, I'm just someone that likes to be positive. Now, I know people say this, oh, I want to be positive. But what I mean by positive is I like to see the good in people. I like to see the good in situations. I like to think about things as in, like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know, we're here today, gone tomorrow, right? We don't know what's going to happen. So you're best off just letting go of the things that dwell on you and that make you feel down or give you these sad feelings. Of course, you don't knock them completely to one side and just never think about it ever again. There's always times it's good to reflect. But I'm just someone that, like, I would rather be happy than sad. And I think that laughter and happiness, energy wise, will always emit to other people, and the energy that you put out will, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Influence somebody else's feeling.
Yeah.
And that, for me, makes me feel good in turn, to make sure that I know, okay, I've given this good energy, and this good energy has now made this person feel better, and they're going to go off about their day, and they're going to have a much better time that day than they would have done had I have not seen them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, I don't know. Then I'm just someone that kind of, like, I really try my hardest in my head to stay as positive and focus on the good as I can.
And do you know what I like as well is that, again, we're very similar in this sense, but there is no bullshit with you. There is no bullshit. Like, why would you have the fluffy bit around the outside? Like, and that has really genuinely helped me. And again, why I said what I said at the beginning, which is, you know, my barber is my therapist. But at the end of the day as well, like, you know, I've come into you and I've had excuse after excuse after excuse about why I haven't done something, why I haven't done this, and gone in and to loads and loads of different details about it.
Yeah.
And you've just gone, but why? Why are you worried about things like that?
Yeah, but look, I, you know, I'm very good at giving out advice. I'm not always the best at taking my own, but I think that's the same for everyone in life. You know?
God, yeah,
but the one thing about me is, the reason I don't bullshit you is because it doesn't help. You know, I say things. My fiance Alice, she will turn around and say, "Oh, you know, sometimes you say things and they come across bad. You know, like you're being out of order or too direct, or." And I just say, well, look, you know, I would rather be honest and say things real than fluff it up, because that's not helping the person to grow. I'm not saying I'm the, you know, the knower of everything. I have no clue, really, in hindsight. But if I've got some form of, you know, positive affirmation that I can give you, I'll do that. And if it turns your day around and you stop worrying about achieving something and you actually go off and achieve it, then for me, that's really important. I think the other reason is because I've had life coaches in the past. I've done that. That was helpful. That was really good. That's not therapy, you know. Like, I think a lot of people think that having a life coach is therapy. It's far from therapy. Therapy, I've only done once, but I assume is more about deep diving into your subconscious and clearing out, you know, cache files of bad stuff to help you grow and go forward. Whereas life coaching's about the non-subconscious, and it's about, you know, bringing you to the front of your brain and to think about how you're going to achieve the things you want to achieve. And I think those, you know, life coaches have had a good positive impact on my own life, to the point where I kind of understand that if you bullshit someone, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It actually hinders them. It leaves them in a position where they end up feeling like, okay, maybe I will do that. Whereas if I just tell you, look, Dan, if you're going to achieve it, you're going to do it. You've just got to do it. You've got to go for it. What's the point in dwelling? Because you never know what's going to happen. So it doesn't matter if you fail.
Yeah.
What matters is you keep going, you keep trying, you keep pushing. It doesn't matter how you do it. No one knows how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I think that's why, for me, I'm able to give good info is because I've had this opportunity to speak to other people and that people have given me the no bullshit.
Yeah.
And I've realized, that really worked for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it as well.
And I think the thing is as well, you've been and I'm going to say it on here, I'm going to thank you because you were an absolute catalyst for me getting this started, because there was a long time between my last podcast and this one where I was like, I'm in an RN, should I do it? Am I in the right mental space?
Yeah.
Should I be able to do what I want to do and what I love talking about in the space that I'm in at the minute? And you said, but why wouldn't you? And why would you not? And you're good at what you did previously. So why would you not bring that up? This is how you can upskill it. But you've also given me a load of helping hands on how to put this podcast forward and what the new format could look like next season as well.
Yeah, that's because I'm a big mouth.
But I love that.
I am a big mouth. But I'm an ideas man. I'm a creative, right? So I think that's why. When you come and you talk to me, my brain goes at 1,000 miles an hour and it tries to chuck out and spew out all the information that it's currently thinking about in that time. That doesn't mean that what I've said is 100% perfect, but what it does mean is that I've maybe touched on a few points that could be for you. And, I appreciate you saying that. Look, I've not really helped you do this. You've done this on your own back. You just needed someone like me to kick you up the arse and say, just fucking believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. I didn't do anything else. We're here today because of you, not because of me. You are fantastic at this. And, I think it's testament to yourself that you actually are this person and you are great at talking and you help people. And, I think podcasts are great because it allows people to sometimes listen to things and it can really help someone get through something that maybe they were going through. But you're brilliant at this, Dan. And I've always said this to you. You're a really lovely man. You're great at what you do. I always enjoy our conversations. I always enjoy talking to you. When you come and you sit in the chair, I know instantly, I can see in your face, I can see in everyone's face and in their eyes, whether they're having a good day or a bad day. Well, I always start off the same way. And I'll say like, how you doing?
Yeah.
That's it. That's how it starts. Let's talk. And you know how it is in the library space. It's this big open space.
Yeah.
It's just me and you. It allows you to talk.
Yeah.
And so obviously when you've had these conversations with me, the number one thing I'm always going to do is just say, just believe in yourself. Yeah. This is it. I truly believe in the power of thought. And the reason I believe in the power of thought is that if you believe in yourself, you have confidence. Confidence leads to action and action leads to results. Wow, I just made that up. But that was good.
That was good. I like that.
That was an exact example of how my brain chucks things out and I have to say them as they come to me. I will forget that I ever said that until I watch this back. But there it is for you.
Yeah, but I love that, man. I'm like, thank you. I really appreciate that. And we've always spoke about things like confidence and stuff for me as well. But just touching on what you said there about, the things 1,000 miles an hour in your brain and stuff like that. I have that as well. But you actually got medical help for that as well, right? And you were diagnosed with ADHD?
Not diagnosed. I tell you what happened. I was talking to a couple of guys, clients of mine, that have both been diagnosed with ADHD, and I had a conversation with them regarding it because I felt like, there's something going on because my attention span is horrendous and I am someone that talks too much, and at school it was always, Kieron's a great student, but he doesn't concentrate. Kieron's a great student, but he gets easily distracted.
Yeah, I had the green report at my school that had to be ticked off and say, Daniel did attend class. Did he listen? No,
definitely not. I think my mathematics are, that of a 4-year-old as well. And I think that's partly due to having ADHD. Now, I believe I have ADHD. I'm not fully diagnosed with having ADHD, but as I was saying, these two young lads, they sat in my chair. They both paid like 700 quid to get a diagnosis and they take medication for it. What that then told me was I asked all the questions that they were asked. And I said like, oh, what did they ask you? And, what do you think would be the case for me? And from answering all the questions that like they answered, they said, well, you'd probably be given the same diagnosis. So that's why when we talk about ADHD and all those things, I definitely have the hyperfixation one. I don't know everything about ADHD, but that is something that I am a super hyperfixator. Man, I've played the cello. I've attempted the clarinet.
Oh, really?
I've done the guitar. I've done a numerous amount of musical instruments.
I didn't know about the cello.
I'm shit at music. I'll put it out there. No rhythm. I cannot play the cello. I cannot play the clarinet, and I definitely can't play the guitar. I did try though. I give it a good go. But what I can do is teach myself how to become a photographer, and then 4 years later be a professional photographer by watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And by studying. I'm not very good at reading. I cannot read. I have to read a page 4, maybe 5, sometimes 10 times on one page. That's why I don't read books. Just because I struggle so much. I cannot get the information to stick. And by the time I get to the end of the page, I've forgotten what was at the top of the page.
Right.
So all these things, I think, are reasons why, like, they both turned around and said to me, oh, we believe that you would have ADHD.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hyperfixation thing is something that I do heavily.
Yeah. But
we can obviously touch on that if you want me to.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, go for it, man. Because I think that in terms of hyperfixation, because I'm very much like a tunnel vision type person.
Yeah.
So once I've got something there, I will be like, right, that's it. That's what I need to achieve. That's what I need to do. But my other issue that I've got, which I've said to you about, is that the motivation side of it. So the motivation will cut me down, or I'll get distracted, and that will then, you know, I'll swerve off, and I won't do that. So yeah, I mean, tell us about that, man.
Well, procrastination is obviously a major part of ADHD, and I'm very good at that.
Yeah.
I must admit, I'm one of the best at procrastinating that there is. I am definitely a doom scroller.
Same
as well. I get told I'm a doom scroller by the missus 24/7.
Yeah.
You are doom scrolling. You are like a zombie. But it's the dopamine, you know, it's always trying to catch that dopamine. And so my hyperfixating side of things is that I will, if I really want something and I want it so bad, I will concentrate on it so hard until the point where it is in me and I've got it and I've learnt that skill and I can now use that skill to go forward in life, and I can do and achieve things with it. But by doing that, that's what's given me the confidence to become things.
Yeah.
When it came to cutting hair, I don't know why I wanted to cut hair. I just decided one day, there's a salon down the road and there's lovely girls that work there, and I was like 17. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that looks like a really cool space to work in, rather than in this van with this guy that I work with. Yeah. Who sticks the hammer up my arse every day when I'm on the ladder and things like that. Yeah. Eating sandwiches out of a bag and, you know, climbing around roofs. Yeah. Doing sky. Yeah. And that was rubbish. Yeah, yeah. So I decided that I was going to do hair, and then I started to, again, hyperfixate on wanting to become a hairdresser. Once I achieved it and I went to work for TG, that's where it really came to the forefront of my mind, because I started watching the DVDs of all the haircuts that they would do, and I would hyperfixate on how the sectioning is and how certain people hold their scissor and how you hold the comb. And, you know, I learned quickly by watching. I'm a watcher. I can watch and learn.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I don't get me wrong. I would happily read about something, but I'd rather watch it. I'd rather understand it or do it. I'm a doer. Like, if I'm able to do something and learn by doing, that's the way that I do it, rather than
learner.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. But that leads to good things, and it leads to bad things as well, because it means you can waste so much time on something because you hyperfixate on it and you're there and you're like, wow, yes, this, and you just do it, and you think, actually I'm quite bored of this, and then I'll drop it. And the problem with that is that I've just wasted money, time, effort into something that I don't want to do anymore. That is the bad bit. And the good bit is sometimes you put money into it and you end up becoming something that you always wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, in the confidence side of it, we've both had a few lifestyle changes recently that have kind of built on that a little bit. Like, I've decided now that I've given up drink for a little while. It wasn't serving me. I wasn't in the right headspace, and drink wasn't helping me. But tell us about your changes as well, because you've done something life-changing.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? The thing is, when you're feeling really down and you're feeling really depressed and you're feeling in a really dark place, as I have been, as I've mentioned to you in the past, I've had, you know, suicidal thoughts and things like that of that nature, which have been really hard to deal with. And so I've made mistakes, and a big mistake that I usually make is when I'm drinking. And so, as I said to you before, when I was cutting your hair and stuff, that the decision to drop alcohol out of my life was probably the best decision I ever made. Not because I made poor decisions only when drinking, which I did, a lot of them.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I can honestly say that I was like, I feel like there's two people inside of me.
Yeah.
So there's me, who you see now, who's a decent, I hope, a decent, genuine person.
You're all right.
And then there's this like complete prick inside of me that just comes out when drunk. And not always, but when I'm drunk, I tend to, you know, act like a dick. And in all honesty, I didn't feel good about it. And that guy, I wanted to lock him up. But I felt that the only way to do that was to cut alcohol out of my life. And so I did. I remember exactly when I did it. I went out with Alice on July the 5th last year, to 2023, for those that are watching it in probably the future, this podcast. And basically, I acted like a knobhead, is the only way I can say it. And it was from that moment that I decided, right, I'm never drinking, because it doesn't serve me well. I'm not a good guy. It kept me on the floor.
Yeah.
People don't realise the implications and the impact that one or two drinks have on you. I mean, you know, we're on a podcast now, but I've obviously listened to many other podcasts about alcohol, and some of the things that they say about like your cortisol levels and how it makes you feel so stressed out and all those things really played a big part in my choice to stop. And I can honestly say that it was the best choice that I made. What I did was I decided that I was just going to switch out alcoholic drinks for non-alcoholic drinks.
Yeah.
So I started drinking like non-alcoholic beers and rum and all these things. And I feel great. In social situations, I can drink non-alcoholic drinks. I don't get that horrible feeling the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm still feel like I'm a part of the whole situation. And in all honesty, the drinking part was only one part of it. I needed to feel good. Like you've mentioned, confidence. One of my biggest confidence boosters have been losing weight.
Yeah. Which you lost a shitload of weight in a healthy way, though, not in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, I did. And, you know, I lost, at this current moment, I've lost about 12.5 kilo, which don't ask me what it is in pounds and stones and stuff. But I basically went from, in stones, I went from like 15.5 stone, and I'm now 13, around 13, I think. And how I did that was I decided that I was going to cut out certain foods out of my diet. And I started to do kind of like a carnivore-based diet.
Okay.
Right? So basically just eating red meat, some chicken, avocado, eggs, and cheese. And I have that every night. And I only have one meal a day. So I don't eat breakfast.
Right.
And I don't eat lunch. Now, this is really hard for a lot of people to get their head around, because they're like, I could never go all day without eating.
Because I must admit, like I've been giving up snacks recently to try and lose a bit of weight and stuff like that. But just one meal a day, and you're like, I wouldn't say limited in that sense, but you are limiting some food choices down as well.
Yeah, completely. I guess the weight loss as well comes from maybe a calorie deficit as well, from not having as many calories in your day. But I'm eating high fat, high protein based food. And so that sort of sustains me throughout the rest of the next day until I eat again. But I mean, I must admit, I do drink a lot of coffee. I'm a big coffee drinker. So the coffee will help suppress your appetite as well. Listen, I'm not saying that what I'm doing is the right thing for everybody, but it's what works for me, and it works well. And I enjoy coffee. I enjoy drinking coffee. I drink coffee with milk in it.
Yeah.
I'm not a crazy person. I don't just drink black coffee all day. And basically, you know, it helps me to stick to some form of, what's the best way to put it to you? It helps me to stick to a plan, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, as we've mentioned earlier in the podcast, like as an ADHD sort of thought-based guy, sticking to like the same things is really the best thing for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, food and I know I'm going to have every single night. I always enjoy it. I never don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's why I do it. It just makes me feel good. My skin felt better. My hair grew stronger. It's weird, but it works for me.
It's crazy that you think about like the amount of shit and preservatives that are in food and stuff, and to do stuff like that and do it and lose weight as well it's ridiculous, man. So props to you.
I do think though that you're right. What you just touched on there, I think that a lot of the food chain is just full of like such bad things for us that's what really causes you to maintain or keep weight on and all those things. I mean, listen, I'm not thin by any means, but I'm a lot thinner than I was. Do you know what I mean? So it has helped. And I mean, eating just like clean, so to speak, foods, the impact that it had on me, and this is the God's honest truth, I know people talk about like clouds over them and stuff like that. The fog that I felt prior to starting the diet, the fog that I felt was so heavy on my head. I couldn't concentrate. I just felt down all the time. I felt like my luck was down. I didn't feel like I was succeeding. I didn't feel like I was achieving anything. I stopped drinking and I changed to this diet, and it was like this fog, this mist just dissipated off of my brain, and I just could see clearly. And I just started succeeding again in life.
Yeah.
Weird.
And it's so strange because I feel like that at the minute. Mentally, I've not been in a great place for the past few months. And for me, alcohol, as I said, is something that I'm cutting out now. But I do want to change my diet. I do want to do things like that to, like you said, because at the moment I feel so clouded in the mist that now I see that where I've given up alcohol for a bit, that it's starting to clear and it's going from there. But it's just that consistency. I need to keep the consistency going. So yeah, fair fucks to you, man. Like, amazing what you've done.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it a lot.
So, like, you've obviously said about how you got into hairdressing. What was your kind of like your drive once you were in the door? What was your kind of drive to keep going in that industry before we get onto the photography side of it?
I kind of went backwards in my career. Now, I know that sounds weird, but usually what happens is you start your career in a salon, you're an apprentice. You finish your apprenticeship, you become a salon floor hairdresser, you cut hair, and you work up to doing maybe some shows, i.e. when I say shows, I'm talking about doing session-y based hair. So what you would see maybe on a fashion runway where the hair is like, you know, vinyl ponytails, right? Because they're like the most famous, the most popular is the word I was looking for, hairstyle on the runway. And you kind of build up to doing those things, and you hope to maybe do hair for, I don't know, commercials or whatever it may well be. Or you go into education. Now, the way that I started on the shop floor with Trevor Sorby as an apprentice, and then there was a whole bunch of bad stuff that happened there, and then I left and I went to work for TG. And whilst working at TG, I was the apprentice at TG. I was sweeping the floors, I was doing all that stuff. But at the company, there was no cutting hair on a salon floor.
Right.
It was an academy. And so I learnt to cut hair from the best hairdressers that there were. And then I ended up teaching hair.
Right.
As quickly as I'd learnt it, I was teaching it. I was on stage, I was doing haircuts on stage, and I was showing other people how to achieve these haircuts.
Yeah.
Teaching them how to hold their scissor, how to comb certain ways, and how to feel for things, and all these little things that I'd hyperfixated on, that I'd learned from watching the other hairdressers there. And so my career went backwards I went from learning how to cut hair, teaching how to cut hair, doing session work, doing shows, doing seminars, doing all these things, no cutting hair for clients.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? So that was weird.
Yeah.
So then when I left TG and I started the London Barber, and I was in Austria, and I came back and I was working for Lynx, it was still in that same sector. So basically it was like hair for adverts.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of £1 million adverts whilst I was there. And then the weird thing was that I was given, this is just the craziest thought process, but I turned up in Paris to do this commercial, and I was given a hairdresser.
All right.
A very good one.
Yeah.
A top session hairdresser. And he was given to me, and they were like, "This is your hairdresser for the shoot." And I turned up thinking I was going to do the hair.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I was thinking, "Okay, this is weird, but like my career has completely gone the wrong way round. I've gone from like starting at the top, the very top, gone even further to the top, and now I don't think I can reach any higher than this.
Right.
That I'm on set directing this guy how to do hair.
Yeah.
Who does hair for, Saint Laurent,
Yeah.
does hair for, you like that little French accent there, didn't you?
I did. I love that.
Does hair for everyone, And I was just bewildered by the situation and the fact that I was in that environment. And then I ended up in lockdown after that deal had finished, thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life now. And then I spoke to Anthony, who I used to work for at TG Moscolo, who's the greatest hairdresser and human being that I know. And he said, why don't you come and cut hair at the library space?
Yeah.
And so I did.
Yeah.
And I started off, and I have to be honest, with like 6 clients, max. People that I had previously cut whilst at TG.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I had. You cannot make a living out of 6 clients.
Yeah.
People come for their haircut every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes more, but majority of the time it's 4 to 6 weeks. And so I have very slowly over the last few years built up a client base to the point where the London Barber is what it is now.
Yeah.
And I've now launched this very small, my apologies, very small product range that we sell just within the library space currently, that we'll look to potentially move to a more commercial setting later on down the line.
Yeah.
And that's where we find ourselves with the London Barber.
Yeah.
And this is where you learn that I really do talk too much.
Absolutely not, man. But I think it's like you said, though. I think lockdown changed a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think personally, like, I wouldn't have become a presenter, podcaster, anything that I'm doing now if it wasn't for lockdown.
Okay.
So talking about the negatives that came with COVID, and there were so many, like I can't even describe how many came with it.
Sure.
But the positives that came out of it, when you see things like that and how entrepreneurial people came and how,
Yeah.
I started my own brand. You've obviously then started your own brand. Loads of my friends have started like bakeries and builders and, this, that and the other. And
amazing.
it's things like that. But then obviously on the flip side of that, you're also at the same time, and now you said about the hyperfixation earlier, you're now professional photographer as well.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because that's huge.
Yeah. That side of things, right? So it's lockdown. I have a extremely beautiful girlfriend. Massive head I've got over here. And she was a former model, and she is very patient with me and my hyperfixing. And I said, look, I'm going to learn photography during this lockdown. I've got to do something with my time. I can't just sit around and just drink myself to death.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So I need to learn, and I've got to just fixate on something. And that fixation was, I've always wanted to learn how to use a camera. And so I decided, right, I'm going to watch some YouTube videos. I watched one YouTube video of 10 minutes, and I learned how to do what they call the exposure triangle.
Right.
Once I learned the exposure triangle, I was off.
Yeah.
I could do it. I could do photography. The reason I have a good eye for photography is, or at least why I know I have a good eye for photography, is because of my friend Joseph Sinclair. Now, obviously, Joseph died recently.
Yeah.
Which killed me, but sorry.
Sorry. Do you want to
It's
stop
due.
for a minute?
No, it's fine. It's due to him that he gave me the confidence, because he would always say, "Gee, you've got such a good eye for photography," and I'd always take pictures for him. When he was shooting, I'd always do like BTS style shots. And his words always gave me confidence that I could achieve these things. Now, following on from that, I also have worked with a lot of photographers, because doing hair, that's what you get the opportunity to do. I've worked with, Roberto Aguilar, Ben Cook, Rankin, obviously Joseph, and many others, right? And one thing that I learned whilst on all of those shoots was how they compose images, what makes a good image. And there was a consistent theme of how they did things and the way that they shot. And it's those people that I fixated on and learnt, whilst they didn't know that I was doing that, obviously. But like for my friend Roberto and stuff, I've worked with him a hell of a lot as well. And I tend to find that learning, like we said earlier, by doing and by watching is my way of doing things. And so after I'd had all these conversations with these photographers about how they do things and stuff, I then just was like, right, I know the exposure triangle now. Okay, Al, stand here, do that. And I would use there's a thing called the rule of thirds in photography.
Oh, yeah, I learned that, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of, I adopted the rule of thirds and then I broke all the rules because you have to learn the rules to break the rules. That was always a really important thing that Anthony used to teach me in hair. Yeah. And that same philosophy is what I used for photography. I didn't use the if in doubt, whack it out one. That's a different. That's just.
That's something else.
If you're unsure whether to cut it or not, you just.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's what it was. And basically, I adopted all of those philosophies, and it allowed me to be able to start taking nice pictures. And Alice was really patient with me, and she allowed me to shoot her. And then fast forward, my friend. I must admit, I have to mention him. My friend Luke. Luke Curtis, he loaned me his Sony A7R II, which is a really good camera, an amazing camera, 40 megapixels, blah, 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 but a fantastic camera. And it was at that moment that I went from using this little Canon with no EVF to a camera with an EVF. And it was at that point that I learnt photography. Right. Because I don't understand how photographers use the screen on the back very well. I've tried, I do it. Yeah. But I never feel like the shots that I get using the screen are as good as the ones that I can do with my actual eye.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know why. It's just something that's for me. I don't feel like I've taken the picture if I don't put my eye to the camera. Yeah. And so that EVF in that Sony is so good that it taught me again what to look for, how to look for things. And it's thanks to Luke loaning me that camera that he allowed me to hone my skills, and he pushed me as well. Yeah. By doing that, he loaned me lights, he loaned me the camera. He was such a great guy, and I have to shout him out because he is one of the reasons as well why I ended up becoming a professional photographer, because he loaned me professional equipment, allowing me to see that I needed to, push myself more. Yeah.
And in terms of like some of the portfolio that you've shot, like you've just recently done a shot with, I can never pronounce her last name, Kaya
Scogliara.
There we go. Thank you.
I think that's how you pronounce it. I've said it wrong myself.
But obviously that was for the gentleman. I would have known her previously. I actually met her at V Festival years and years ago. I'm sure it was her. I had a couple of beers, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was her on the Friday night at V Festival way back when. And it was at the height of Skins as well, when she was obviously playing Effie. Yeah. So like, working with people like that, like Kaya, and like, who else have you shot recently?
Kaya's the biggest face in terms of like actress that I've ever shot. But I've obviously, as you know, through hair, I work with Jim Chapman and Joe Sugg and all those people. And I've shot Jim, and I've shot quite a few musicians and stuff like that. I've shot for, Suspect Lingerie, a company that, which was great. Was a good learning experience, and I still shoot for them today. But mainly what I'm doing at the moment is I'm building my portfolio because I'm still, I believe, at the very, very beginning of my professional career in photography. I've only been a photographer really for 4 years. Yeah. And 3 of those were in lockdown. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So coming out of lockdown and then being able to shoot, I've learned more and more and more. Kaya was an amazing opportunity that came my way. And again, I believe that came my way because of Joseph. I think he sent that to me, which was amazing. And, she is such a lovely girl, woman rather. And I had 10 minutes because I don't know, most people know this, but, sometimes when you do these things, you get given 20 minutes to do something, and then it gets cut in half and you have 10 minutes left to actually shoot. And so I had 10 minutes. I was absolutely shitting a brick. And then I just sort of like said, okay, let's shoot. And in my head, I just heard, over and over again, you can do it, G. You can do it, G. You can do it, G. And in those moments, I was just like, I'm just going to go for it. And I did. I believed in myself. I had the confidence. I fully backed myself in that moment.
Yeah.
And I said, right, let's get these shots. And those shots are now in NME magazine.
Yeah, and they look sick. They look so good.
Thanks, mate. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing situation. It's an amazing feeling. I'm proud of the situation. But again, I don't really know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
Because there's just been so much going on.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the thing, like that's the problem that I've suffered with as well, is that the amazing achievements that you've got can be sometimes, when life gets in the way, kind of dampens it down a bit. But then, like, once you take stock, you sit back, you take stock, and you think, actually, fuck, I achieved that. Like, I took that photo, I did that, I sorted this podcast, I did whatever. That's the time, and this is why at the end of the series, I'm going to sit back and rewatch a lot of these, and I'm going to reflect on it and be like, fuck, that was an experience. That's something that I would genuinely say I'm so proud of. And that's the same with you with the photos, man. Like, I'm as your mate, I'm proud of you for your growth and everything. And I know that it's just going to get bigger and better. I know that. But I wanted to end off the episode, mate, because you give such great advice to so many people, including me, and such raw, open advice as well. So what advice would you give to someone who's been in a similar scenario to you? Whether that's about mental health, whether that's career progression, career change. What advice would you give to someone?
Well, first and foremost, everything gets better. That's the big one. Just to remember that the good times are good times and the bad times are bad times, but nothing ever lasts. So whether it's good or bad, and to remember that, because one day you could have something that's great and the next day it's gone. You know, Anthony always used to say this slogan, which was, "What's new today is old tomorrow." And that is something I've lived by. I've lived by that because, you know, at the end of the day, okay, yeah, I achieved that. I achieved that photo shoot with Kieron and it was amazing, but that was new that day. Yeah. And then the next day it was old. Yeah. You know, so my advice would be that believe in yourself. Visualize it in your brain. Visualize it so much so that you believe you've already achieved it. And I know that everyone always talks about that from, like, you know, manifestation and all these different things. But the truth is I do believe that the power of thought will always help people. If you truly sit and just take a moment to really believe and to think about the thing that you want, as you've already achieved it, it will come and you will get it. Definitely do that. Don't listen to other people's opinion. There's no such thing as advice. There's only opinions. Because just because someone tells you to do something and you choose to act upon their advice, you cannot then blame that person because they gave you that advice, because it was your choice to act upon their advice, their opinion. So what I'd always say is, if someone tells you, if you ask someone's opinion on something, take it, use what you need from it, and if it doesn't work, blame yourself. Always take pure accountability for everything that you do. If you take raw accountability, you can never be disappointed, because you can know that, okay, right, fine, I failed. Yeah. But I would rather fail at trying to do it myself than never try at all. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I guess that's kind of what I would say. Yeah. I don't, you know, it's hard because when you say, like, what advice would you give? I give different advice to different people.
As I say, everyone's got, you've got different scenarios, different people as well.
Yeah. I see a lot of people. I see people with money. I see people without money. I see people that are, you know, maybe struggling. It's different advice for different people, you know. And when people ask me certain things, what do you think I should do here? It's always a case by case situation. Yeah. And I think that, you know, the thing is, everyone is going through stuff. Yeah. That's the number one thing to remember. And just because someone seems like they're in a really good, happy mood, then maybe they're not always. And I can definitely say from my side of things that I'm definitely an outputter of good. Yeah. Whilst keeping my own internal stuff to myself. Yeah. Because I don't want to push it on anyone else.
That's exactly the same as me. Yeah, there's a lot that you put out there, but a lot that you don't see behind as well. So.
Yeah, of course I struggle. Of course I sit and, you know, cry my eyes out on my own and stuff like that, and worry about life and how things are going to be achieved. And, you know, everyone, this is a great bit of advice. because an opinion, whatever it is that you want to say, don't believe everything you see.
Yeah.
Because it's just all bullshit online.
Yeah.
Don't compare your life, because everyone's a liar.
Yeah.
Everyone pretends they're doing great, and everyone never shares. The entrepreneur that is now a billionaire does not show you the 900 failures that it took him to get to become that. You know, like we had this conversation the other day about, achieving things and all that stuff. It's the same with that. Sometimes it doesn't matter how many times you fail. It's just keep going.
Yeah.
Don't give up on yourself. That's the advice I would give. Just don't give up on yourself. Believe in yourself and never give up on yourself.
Yeah.
You can cut it. So this.
Perfect. Well, Kieron, honestly, mate, I couldn't have thought of a better way to end off the series than with a genuine friend who's always looked out for me since the day dot since I saw you. So, firstly, I want to say thank you as a friend. Firstly, I want to say thank you. Secondly, I want to say thank you as my last guest for this season.
Thank you very much.
Where is it that everyone can find you? Where can we keep up to date with what you're doing, with everything? And what's next for you as well?
TheLondonBarber.com is where you can get your haircut. So if you want a haircut, you can go to TheLondonBarber.com and there's a book now button. You can book yourself in. You can also then go through and see all the pictures and see me laughing with Waz.
Yeah.
The pictures, one of my clients. And then that is Instagram wise, it's just at Kieron_Webb if you want to see my photography and stuff like that. And I would say that what's next for me is tomorrow's a new day and we shall see what it brings. Because as far as I'm concerned, you never know what's next for you.
Yeah.
I can just try to work hard and hopefully, Dan, photography, professional, full time will be my next thing. I'm not saying that I'm going to stop cutting hair forever, but like as in I want to try to push more into professional photography as much as I can.
I fucking love that. Mate, thank you so much again. It's a genuine pleasure and I'll probably see you in about a month.
Yeah. To make you look pretty.
Yeah. What is it you used to say? Homeless to homewrecker.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Still feel homeless.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Lovely. My foot is so dead.
Did I talk enough shit?